Hello, how are we doing? Welcome to the SpareTime podcast. I'm just editing the video now. Unfortunately, I would just like to address a couple of things. The lighting quality was horrible because we were filming this in a cupboard in Stroud Bowling Alley. Well, firstly, thanks for Mark for being accommodating and giving us a room that's a bit quieter. But yes, we were filming it in a broom cupboard. And also, I get up a lot and start looking about. That was because I was making sure that I didn't miss practice, and if you notice me texting people, that was also me trying to make sure that I wasn't going to miss practice by getting people to let me know when we're going to start bowling. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy the episode, and without further ado, here's the episode.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the SpareTime podcast, and this one is coming from the broom cupboard at the back of Stroud Bowl, where we're here for the junior accumulator tournament. And as you can see, our special guest today is Russ Semple. So hello Russ, and thanks very much for coming.
I'm glad you used the word special, because I'm pretty special.
Well, that's why we've invited you on. So
I'm going to kick it off, and this is a question I want to know. To you, what makes a great athlete?
Now, there's so many things that go into that. It depends on whether you're talking individual or team-wise. But it's always got to be the want to learn. You can't stand still in any sport, especially in this one, with the way the equipment and the patterns change year on year, month by month. So you have to want to learn. If you're going to pick up a new piece of equipment, like the new that's come out to replace the purple hammer, you've got to know what that ball does before you start competing with it. So you have to pick it up, you have to practice with it, you've got to roll down different lines on different patterns. It's about knowledge, and it's about the ability to use that knowledge.
I mean, so obviously, a lot of people consider themselves, I'm a good athlete.
Yes.
But what do you think certain bowlers can do individually to make themselves go from good to great?
Mental game's massive. It can win or lose massively. Spares, if you're not sparing and you start thinking about it and overthinking it, then you're going to keep missing spares. It's just about focusing on the small things that you can control, the movements of the ball, the first movement of the ball, on the swing, and all the things you can control, and then keeping your mind focused on your target, your at the arrows and at the break point. And as long as you can remove your focus away from what's going wrong and focus on correcting it, you will normally score better and you will normally remain more positive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you mentioned mental game. I mean, my dad is like huge on mental game. The amount of times I've been at a competition and I've had like the conversation in the car of, it's the mental game, it's this, it's that, and it's like, are you there physically? You know what you're doing, but you sort your mental game out.
Yeah.
How important for you would you say the mental game is?
It's one of the first things I work with when any student comes to me. It's one of the first things that I go to. It doesn't matter what their age, it's getting them used to leaving single pins and then forgetting the fact that it wasn't a strike, because if you can spare that's 190 average. 9 spares throughout, it's 190 average. And then you put a double in, it's over 200. It's about just refocusing. I have a favourite quote from Norm Duke, which is, once you've released the ball, you can control 2 things: your reaction to what happens and your next ball. So once you've released the ball, it's pointless fussing about what happened. You've got to concentrate on your next ball, your next frame, your next game, and you have to continue to move forward and just stay mentally, I like to call it zen. So if you're rolling well, you're not too high, and if you're rolling badly, you don't drop. You keep yourself nice and stable, and it normally helps your game.
Do you think in the UK the mental game is probably not as not seen as important as it is in, say, in the States? Because in general, sort of the whole sort of mental attitude, sort of thinking thing in the States is big, but in the UK it's only just starting to creep in society. So do you think it's the same with bowling?
There are coaches that are working on it. We can only move the sport forward at a certain pace, and you have to rely on every coach doing what they're doing. I can only speak for most of the coaches that I work with and most of the coaches I know. Even Mark's education through the level 2 and the level 1s, it's part and parcel of what you learn. You have to be capable of teaching your bowlers. And for me, it doesn't matter what age they come to me at, whether they're 20 when they come to me or whether they're 4 when they come to me. It's for you you learn to have fun with them first, so they stay positive that way. As they get older, you tell them about disappointment and competing. Most of my bowlers, when they come to their first tournament, I tell them straight, expect to go and lose.
The saying is, you've got to be a good loser to be a good winner.
You have to be sportsmanlike. You have to be able to go, yeah, you were better than me on the day.
Yeah.
And as long as you know, it's a couple of the shots out there with some of the bowlers, just they've rolled a good shot and it's left them a single pin, and you're like, look, you know it was a good shot. Yeah. Then why are you annoyed about it? Because if you get annoyed about it, you're going to change something, or physically you're going to do something differently. But if that was a good shot, why are you going to change anything? Make the spare, X-frame.
Yeah, and I think in any sport, any sort of sport at a high level, the mental game is seen as important.
Huge, yes, absolutely huge.
And I definitely think in 10-pin bowling, it's not seen as important as it really is. And I think if a lot of people that maybe where the bowling ability isn't quite there, if they've got a mental game right, they would definitely do better.
Oh yeah, as I say, any bowler that comes to me, doesn't matter if it's a brand new bowler, it's one of the first things I work with, because one of the first things they do is not strike. So that's the first opportunity you then to start working on the mental game. Okay, so you didn't strike, so refocus, make the spare. And it's all making sure that the way of thinking and the fact of refocusing it and giving them something, if physically they are doing something different because they're annoyed, getting them to work on something physically, like just the first movement to the ball or the first step. And if you can get that focus away from missing spares and focusing on something that they're doing right, it will normally start fixing things.
So one of the things that I see on, when watching any bowler, not just youth but adults as well, to have a bad shot, you can see it in the body language. And I often used to say to Ben, don't let your body language show your frustration, because what you're doing, that body language is then going into your subconscious mind,
always,
which is messing up your mental game.
Positive physical, positive mental. You have to do both. I mean, I no longer bowl, but the amount of times I've rolled a ball and it's done something, and all I've done is turn around laughing, because there's not a lot else I can do about it at that point. But if I'm laughing, I'm positive. So then I go back, if I'm annoyed about it, I spend 5 seconds at the back of the lane to be annoyed, and then my focus changes when I move forward with the ball. And I expect the same from all my athletes. If you're annoyed, back of the lane, work it out, and then as soon as you move forward, positive, focus on something, get away from the mental attitude at the back.
So, I mean, like you mentioned, mentality is big. I mean, I bowled a 99 game in Ireland the other week. You were there.
But then what did you do a little bit later on?
Well, yeah, I bowled 170 and 214. And I think, for me, it used to be a case that you bowl especially when I was like 10, you bowled one bad game, it's competition, you're done.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my dad later on that day. We were speaking about mentality in a cafe in Ireland. And we were speaking about how important mentality is and confidence. And I said that I think it was Verity Crawley that said it on a podcast. She said that you can have the wrong ball in your hand, but if you think it's the right ball, you're going to have better results than the best ball you could have, but not being 100% confident in it. And I sort of suppose, like, I considering a lot of people's experience, most people have been bowling a lot longer than I've even been kicking about on this planet, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. But obviously, you're someone that's been coaching for, how long have you been coaching for?
10 years now.
10 years.
I've been bowling since I was like 10 myself, so that's 40 plus years.
So what type of advice do you give to like people that are trying to work on the mental game?
It's about finding the little things that you can focus on. It's as simple as once you're losing your mental game, you have to find another way of focusing. Because if you're focusing on missing spares, or not making strikes, or even if I'm rolling badly today, it's a case of, so how do you fix it? So you focus on the fixes rather than the results. And if you can fix and just make the swing easier, making your release better, getting your timing better, the more you can fix, the quicker you will get out of the mental game. So it's about then focusing on if you have a decent coach, they should be teaching you how to fix things. I've been discussing with a couple of bowlers today of, this is happening because you're doing this, and as soon as they realise that that's why it is, then they find a way of working on it, releasing easier, just rolling through the ball easier. If you are doing everything easy, you make adjustments on your feet and your targets, and you're normally making the pocket easier. the more you're trying to do with the ball, the more things that can start to go wrong with it.
So, I mean, obviously you said you've been bowling a long time. How did you sort of get into bowling? Because I think everyone kind of has a different story. I mean, I have my story, and most people's are sort of mum and dad, but not for me personally. I mean, my dad got into bowling, but everyone has like a bit of a unique story.
Yeah, I started bowling originally crown green, because my granddad used to crown green bowls. And then one of my friends was having a, same as, I mean, it's not really changed. One of my friends was having a party at the bowling alley in Wolverhampton, IMF Bowl. And I went along and I enjoyed that, and then I started bowling a little bit more. I went into the forces when I left school, so I stopped bowling at that point. Started taking up other sports that I was doing there, and then when I came back out, I just took bowling back up. And then I bowled for a while, dropped out of it again, probably in my mid-30s, and then came, Carla was out for a birthday party once, and Lee Hart came over and said, "There's a YBC in Nuneaton." So we went and had a look at the YBC, and that was my doom. At that point, it's like they were short on coaches, so that's how I started.
So obviously you said you've been coaching for about 10 years, because some people are very bowling orientated, but I know a lot of people that I have spoken to that are coaches have kind of bowled, really enjoyed bowling, but gone, I don't want to bowl, I want to teach to bowl.
Yes.
Why did you end up in coaching?
Because I love it. It's as simple as that. I don't get as much joy from bowling as I get every single day from coaching, because there's always something that you see in who you're working with, or some things that I've seen today. I mean, watching little Ava Richardson bowl is just phenomenal at her age, and then working with a couple of bowlers from Huddersfield today that were struggling a little bit and getting their mentality and just sorting the lines out. It gives you back so much as a coach every single time you coach. I love to do it.
I mean, I think one thing that's different, that sets you apart from a lot of people, is you'll see a lot of coaches, obviously YBC coaches itself, which fair enough, but a lot of coaches will coach their bowlers and that's it.
Yeah.
Where with you, there's a select few people in England who will just coach anybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, I quite admire that, but as well, you've got a nickname, it's Coach Duddle, right?
Yeah.
How did you get that? Because I'm wondering this.
Coach Duddle. You can blame Carla for that. So, both of my nieces, when they were younger, couldn't pronounce Russell. So one called me What, which turned into Wuss, and Carla called me Duddle, because she couldn't pronounce Russell. So Duddle stuck, and then her elder sister decided, I'm going to join on that, and then my sister started calling it me. And it's, for me, Coach Duddle, why am I going to be annoyed at something that my nieces used to call me when I was smaller, when all it does is make me smile at memories? So I like to use it because it makes me smile. And it's a silly thing. And if I'm having fun out on the lanes and people are having fun with me, it normally works better.
Coming down to the coaching, I mean, a week ago today we were in Dublin, all of us at the Junior Irish Open, and you were there.
Yeah.
I mean that's some commitment from somebody. I'm there because he's there, but you're there because you want to be there and you want to help other people, which is unusual. That level of commitment to fly to another country or however you got there, it's quite unusual, and it shows quite a lot of commitment to what it is you actually do.
There's other reasons. There's people out there that I get on with as friends from both Ireland, Scotland, Wales. I've got a couple of athletes today that are Welsh bowlers that come to me for things. And it's, my favourite statement is I'm a youth coach first. Youth is a specific thing. If we can move every single youth athlete in this country and the other home nations forward, we move the sport forward. We move our abilities forward. We move the level of the game forward. So I'm not going to concentrate on my YBC or Youth Team England or FTF coaching. I mean, the whole point of naming FTF coaching was because it's for the future. There is no sport without a future. You have to coach every single athlete you can. Anybody on a lane that's struggling, all they've got to do is grab me. And I'm happy to help them, because we've got to move the sport forward. The only way to move the sport forward is to move every single athlete that we can forward.
What do you think is the future of bowling in the UK? I mean, in the number of years since Ben started a bowl, I've seen things change, and I know a couple of months ago we had the announcement of the World Bowling League. The World
Yes.
Bowling League, yeah. I mean, that's something that possibly going to come along in the future. But how do you see the future of bowling, certainly in terms of the UK?
The UK is getting better, and it's people like Ben and yourself that are doing a certain amount of it. A lot of sports now are very well represented on the online stuff or on television. We're not on television, so we have to go online. And when we've got people like yourself, Ben Robinson, people doing podcasts and stuff online, it helps the sport. Anything that puts more views. And for me, it's like, if I go into a bowling alley and it's really quiet and there's a league going on, am I going to want to try that as a sport? If there's noise and there's loud and there's laughing and there's joy, I'm going to be like, oh, that looks like fun. Why am I not going to try it? So I think we need to add a little bit more of that enjoyment. I mean, you triple crown's the one for me, the youth triple crown. You've got the Oggies going on down one lane and your 2 lanes away and your bowlers are on the lane. So if they can focus while that's happening, then they can focus through anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, the cheering and the chants. And I mean, watching Verity at the ECC with a mom in the background, woo! After every strike. Oh, it's absolutely, it's short, it's enjoyable, it sounds like people are having fun. And we've got to show that that's part of the sport as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. It needs to be fun. And I think, as I say, the time I've been here, it has changed. I mean, I remember when Ben first started to bowl in tournaments, and I've got no idea who these people were, but they were running a tournament at the time, and I took some photographs of Ben, and one of them came over to us and said, what are you taking photographs of? And I said, well, Ben is bowling. He said, well, you're not taking photographs of anybody else. I said, I'm not taking any photographs of anybody. Well, can I see them on your phone? I said, no. So that instantly, to me, is this is all a bit...
it alienates you, doesn't it?
It's a bit stiff,
yes.
you know, this tactic, but it's completely different. I mean, today the tournament manager is Brian Parker, and there's nobody better than Brian Parker for getting people to enjoy the tournament. Yeah. And I think it's moved on in the 8 or 9 years that Ben's been in it.
Definitely.
I think as well, one thing that I have noticed when I first started bowling, doing it, I mean, I know I was obviously 7, but doing anything like this wouldn't have happened. And I think a big thing about it was just filming in general was like, and the reason I started filming in general was obviously, you know, I'm trying to get to professional, you want your brand image. But on top of that, you know, there's going to be, you know, if you don't help people get in the sport, there will be no sport to compete in. So, you know, I kind of thought, well, they're doing it in America, no one's doing it over here, so why not be the first one?
Too much.
And I remember filming county trials in County Durham. Was my first ever video that I did, and everyone looked at me and I'm like, and everyone's staring at you. And then I went to Dunstable, I believe, not long after that. I was filming again and everyone's sort of looking at you thinking, and you sort of like, you get quite nervous because everyone's sort of just looking at you and you're thinking, I look like a proper weirdo doing this. But, you know, over the time, a lot of people you speak to actually watch my stuff.
Yes.
And to me, it still kind of doesn't make sense. Because, I mean, you know, I'm getting like 100, 200 views, which is quite good. And then you'll be speaking to people and go, oh, I watched your last podcast, or I watched that video, and you're like, people watch my stuff?
Yes.
And I think that, you know, that's just one of the coolest things in the world. But I think especially now, what I've learned is speaking to more people, like, Mark Patrick? Mark Patrick. And people now are so willing to help and do what they can to help you get involved in the, you know, and to publicise the sport. I mean, obviously Mark's let us use this broom cupboard to film the podcast, which is great because we were going to do it outside, but it was a bit noisy. But I mean, obviously you come on the podcast. I mean, Martin came on the podcast. We've got a few more people coming on the podcast. But people just want to come on and just help publicise bowling in it.
Yes.
And if you're posing a positive brand image, then everyone's willing to help, which I think bowling's the only sport in the world where you can be actively competing against people but still support them.
Oh God, yes. Well, it's not the only sport, but yeah, you tend to find the individual sports. It's for me, it's you compete on the lanes, your friends off it. Mm-hmm. And if I ever catch any of my bowlers being disrespectful off the lanes to another bowler, they're not going to be under my brand anymore. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. They're all taught the same thing. You compete with as much fierceness, as much passion, as much drive as you've got, and once it's over, it's over. You just make friends, which you saw at Ireland over there. The amount of people you get to know from the other countries and get to enjoy. We were sitting in the pub up the road on our last night, and just a quick video going round, and we got the Welsh team in there with us that were up there. You've got the Irish, the Scots, you've got us from England, you've got a couple of my guys from England. So when you've got all 4 home nations taking up about 3 or 4 different tables after the event, that's one of the biggest parts for me that I love about it.
Do you have for you personally, do you have a particular goal that you want to achieve with your coaching?
Oh, so many. It's crazy. I'm annoyed it took me to the age that it did to find it. Ethan Quinney gave me my first, major goal for me. First youngster I've coached from when he started to put in on the England shirt. It'd be nice to put one of my older youth bowlers into an adult one, but there's always new challenges. I've got a 4-year-old who's the youngest 5-year-old now, who's got the youngest BTBA member in the country, who's at the YBC. I've got 3 new two-handers who are all looking very good for their ages. So there's always some new thing to challenge you. You have to move your education forward. You can't be stuck in the mud. You've got to move yourself forward as well as your athletes forward. There's always goals. The next 50 game for my young man, the next 200 game, my next bowler to bowl at 300.
What about getting one of your bowlers into the PBA? Would that be a good achievement for you?
Oh, that'd be a dream. That'd be huge. To do that, the thing is, we've got trailblazers now. We've got Verity over there. That's kind of trailblazer. It can be done. You've got Izzy Allen over there. You've got Rhiannon Dobinson over there, and you've got some of the girls that are in the U-team in the squad. Izzy Fletcher went over there this year. So you've got bowlers that are going over there and proving it can be done at going into American university programs. And I think that has to be the path for most of our bowlers going into the PBA. Although Ben Robinson's doing an awful lot of trailblazing in Europe, if he doesn't pick up a ball and go and have a go over there at some point, then I'm going to whack him, because he's got to at least go and have a look at it. And it's the same as the bowlers like yourself that are driven, that want it, that want to do it. There's no reason why you can't. It doesn't just take a coach; it takes your drive. I mean, all of mine are told that anything they achieve is theirs. The education to get there, I've helped with. But the medals they win are theirs. They don't belong to me. They're not mine. They've done it without them listening, without them learning, without them taking on board what I say, without the parents giving them the rides and the parents buying the equipment and stuff. None of it is just the coach.
I think the key reason is to don't look for reasons why you can't do it.
Yes.
Look for reasons why you can do it, and forget the reasons why you can't do it.
No.
Because you get more of what you think about.
Anybody is possible to get to a higher standard. Where that standard ends is always down to the bowler. And the education and the affordability of it. So you got to push yourself. You've got to push yourself to the best that you can achieve.
So it's a bit short, so I'll ask one last question, because I'm getting a few texts saying that they're nearly finished oiling the lines, and if I've been standing up, it's because I'm making sure that I'm not missing practice because we're at competition. So my last question for you is, what's your best, funniest, kind of most interesting bowling story from the time that you've been bowling? Because this always gets good reactions.
Okay, so my niece is probably going to kill me. She was slowly taking her high game. It's how you do. You take the high game up and you take the high game up. We were bowling in the Wednesday league, in the Wednesday doubles, and I'm bowling at that point against Jack Barwick, Izzy Allen, and Carla Boff, my niece. And I bowled something like 6:30, which for me, I'm having a good night. I bowled a 210 average, and I got a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 16-year-old on the lanes with me, and I was lowest score by about 40 pins. That tells me what the talent we have in this country.
Yeah.
When I bowl 6:30 now, I'm having a good night, and I'm not even close to 14, 15 and 16-year-olds. We've got huge talent in this country. We've got to challenge them. We've got to make them better. The only way to make them better is to educate them.
Well, obviously, this is the end of the podcast. I need to go and get changed before the next squad. Obviously, thanks for coming on.
Never an issue, Ben. You need any help, just give me a shout. And that's on the lanes all off.
So hopefully you did enjoy this episode. If you did, please like, subscribe and comment who you want on next. And we'll see you next time on the SpareTime podcast.
Enjoy your day.